Are you ready for a new adventure? Time to travel back in time, let's go! Are you ready for a new adventure? Let's learn about the past with Anna and Leo.
Hi friends! Welcome to Unlock This, a podcast from Honest History, where we join our friends Anna, Leo, and Percy on adventures through time and uncover some really cool stories along the way. My name is William. I'm 6 years old, and I love learning about history, especially new stories that I don't hear about in school. I can't wait for today's story, and I think you're gonna love it too. So let's dive in.
Leo, you know how much I love learning about animals.
Yes, and you always have the best animal facts. Just last week, you told me that mice can't burp.
It's true. It's why Percy hates soda. Too many bubbles.
I never thought about that.
And it's not just mice. A lot of different rodents can't burp. Rats, rabbits, squirrels, beavers, which is what I wanted to learn about today.
You want to learn about rodents and how they can't burp?
No, beavers.
Oh, what do beavers have to do with history?
Well, I heard this strange story that involves beavers parachuting out of the sky.
Anna, are you sure this is a real story?
Oh, it is. It was called the Beaver Drop.
I think I'm going to have to see this one to believe it.
Lucky for you, we can make that happen. Percy, is there anything in the vault about the Beaver Drop?
He has an idea. Oh, let's follow him into the vault and see what he finds.
I think Percy wants us to look in this cabinet. There's some boxes in there. It looks like there's some reels of film in them.
Do you think these are old movies? Look, there's an old camera in here too.
Percy says we should take a look at this film reel. There's a label on it. It says, Idaho Fish and Game Commission.
I wonder what it means. Is there any way we can watch this film? I think I saw one of those projectors in the vault. I've seen people use those to watch really old films.
I don't think there's enough time. Leo, do you feel like we're about to travel?
Whoa, we've traveled to some kind of forest.
I see some people in the distance through the trees. Let's walk that way.
Huh. I wonder where we are. Do you have any idea, Anna?
Well, the Beaver Drop happened in Idaho in 1948. So maybe that's where we traveled to?
Look, there's some people over there by the lake. They have a bunch of wooden boxes set up on the ground.
I think they're getting ready for the drop. They'll use those boxes to move the beavers.
Why would they want to move the beavers?
Well, people really only started to live in this part of Idaho after World War II, which was around the 1940s. And when these people came here, they immediately began building houses and planting gardens to make their homes. But this land was already the beavers' home. And they were busy building too. Using their teeth, they cut down trees and built dams across the streams. Sometimes these dams flooded people's yards and their drainage systems.
So people who moved here became annoyed with the beavers.
Yes, but beavers are very important to the ecosystem of this area. Did you know there used to be millions and millions of beavers all across North America? There aren't as many now because people hunted beavers for their fur. In fact, you know those top hats that people used to wear?
Oh, yes, like the one Abraham Lincoln wore.
Right. Those hats used to be made with beaver fur. They were really popular in the 1800s. You see, beaver fur is pretty waterproof, so it's very useful for things like hats. Eventually, these hats went out of fashion, but people continued to hunt beavers. By 1900, the animals were nearly extinct. And people slowly started to realize that without the beavers, the land changed.
Hey, look, I think I see a beaver over there.
You're right, Leo. I'm happy we got to see one during the day. Beavers are mostly nocturnal, which means they are usually active at night.
I think it has a stick in its mouth and it's swimming across the pond. I wonder what it's doing.
It might be using that stick for its dam, which is very important. By building dams, beavers create places called wetlands, which are important habitats for many things like fish, birds, and plants. You can think of beavers as little engineers. They build and create homes for many different types of creatures. Do you see that one over there, in the pond?
Yes, it looks like a pile of sticks in the middle of the water.
That's a beaver lodge. That's where the beavers live, and they made it. They built dams across streams around here to make a pond, and then they built their house on top of that pond.
So they made that pond and that house? They are little engineers.
Yes. All kinds of animals use the beaver lodge. Bugs, fish, and even river otters use the lodge to hide from predators.
So the land around here would look very different if beavers didn't live here, and a lot of animals probably wouldn't live here either.
Exactly. When people moved here and started complaining about the beavers, the government knew they couldn't just get rid of them because they are important. But they had an idea. What if they just moved the beavers away from the houses?
How are they going to do that?
That's a good question. Idaho's Fish and Game Department would be in charge of moving the animals, and the department knew they needed a good plan. You see, this wasn't their first time they had tried moving beavers, and the last time, it didn't go very well.
Why was that?
It wasn't very fun for the beavers. After they were caught, people would load the beavers onto a truck and drive them to the home of a conservation officer, where they would stay the night. And in the morning, the beavers were put into another truck and driven even further. When they reached the last part of the journey, there weren't any roads for a truck. So they had to carry the beavers the old-fashioned way. They put the beavers on horses and walked until they finally made it to their new home.
That sounds like a very long journey.
It was. And let's just say the beavers weren't very happy. It's hard for them to travel long distances. Beavers can't stay out in the sun for very long, so they need to be consistently cooled and watered. And if they aren't, they get very uncomfortable and annoyed.
So they were angry beavers?
Yup. And these angry beavers jumped around and terrified the horses. It wasn't a safe way to transport the beavers, and many didn't survive after the journey. So you see, the Fish and Game Department knew they needed a new plan if they wanted to get the animals to their new home safely.
Anna, I think I see a small airplane over there, near the boxes.
I see it too. Just wait till you see this, Leo. I think the drop is about to happen.
Hi friends, are you enjoying today's episode? I'd like to take a quick break from the story to tell you about another great place to learn about the past. Honest History creates magazines and books for kids that are filled with fun stories and activities that bring history to life. From pirates to spies to great inventions and so much more, you'll learn about interesting people, places, and events from around the world that made history. Created for kids ages 6 through 12, you can sign up and receive new adventures delivered straight to your doorstep every quarter. Just visit honesthistory.co. That's honesthistory.co to sign up today. Oh, and here's a special offer for our podcast listeners. Use code UNLOCKTHIS for 10% off. Again, that special code is UNLOCKTHIS. Okay, let's get back to the story.
I think the men over there are catching beavers. Look, one of them has a beaver in his hands, and he's putting it into one of those boxes.
And now they're putting those boxes onto the plane.
Wait, so they're going to fly the beavers to their new home?
Not just fly. Those beavers are going to parachute to their new home. Look, they're tying each box to a parachute. And some of those parachutes were actually left over from World War II.
What? Is that safe?
Well, they made sure to test it many times. The main thing they were worried about was the box. They needed to design a special kind that wouldn't open in the air, but would open once the box landed, so the beavers could get out. At first, they tested the parachute using empty boxes, but then they needed to see if it worked with an actual beaver. There was an older beaver who they nicknamed Geronimo. Geronimo went on a lot of test flights. They would put him in the box with the parachute, fly him up to the air, and drop him from the sky. And Geronimo landed perfectly safe on the ground every time.
It looks like they're getting ready to go. Should we see if we could sneak onto the plane?
Don't worry, Percy. We'll stay on the plane. No parachuting, I promise.
Let's squeeze it back here. Wow, it looks like there are 8 boxes on the plane.
Each box has about 2 beavers in it. So that means they're taking around 16 on this flight. And I believe Geronimo's in one of the boxes. Oh, thanks, Percy. He says Geronimo is in this box with 2 of his friends.
Well, Geronimo, to you this is probably pretty normal. I feel like he should get a special box considering all the test flights they put him on.
They made sure he got on the first flight so he could get to his new home as soon as possible. After today, Geronimo will never have to get on a plane again.
I'm sure he's happy to hear that. But you said first flight. Are there going to be more?
Yes. The Fish and Game Department has to transport 76 beavers, so they'll need to do about 4 more trips.
Hold tight, Anna. I think we're getting ready to take off. Wow, it's beautiful from up here. Look, I can see the mountains in the distance.
They'll be dropping the beavers around there, in those meadows.
Yes, I can see it. It looks like there are some lakes and streams nearby.
And after they land, the beavers will be able to find the water and start building new dams and lodges.
Hey, look! One of the men is starting to take the boxes.
It looks like the beavers are about to drop.
And there they go! They're parachuting down the meadow below.
And you see, those boxes have landed safely on the ground.
And you said the boxes automatically open up after they land?
That's right. And then the beavers will follow their noses to find the water and start their new lives.
I really can't believe they parachuted beavers from a plane in 1948.
It was a pretty strange idea, but in the end, the department declared it a success. They only lost 1 beaver, and the whole operation didn't cost the government very much money. They were even able to save most of the parachutes. After the beavers landed, people collected the parachutes so they could be used again.
It looks like we're coming back to land. Hold on!
There, Percy. We're back on the ground. And see? No parachuting.
Hey, Anna, I hadn't noticed before, but it looks like there's a person with a camera over there. Do you think they're filming?
Actually, now that you mention it, there was an old film about the Beaver Drop, but it had been lost for over 60 years. Historians finally found it again in 2014.
An old film, you say? I have a pretty good idea we might have seen something like that in the vault.
Leo, you're right. That old film reel. It had a label on it that said Idaho Fish and Game Department. That must be the film about the Beaver Drop.
And we're back!
I really want to see that old film reel Percy showed us. Leo, you said you saw a projector around here? Maybe we can use it to watch the film.
Yes, I think it was around this corner. There it is! Although, I'm not really sure how it works.
Percy says he can help. He's done this before. We just need to take the old roll of film and put it on this part of the machine, and then we take this piece of film and place it into the slot right here. Percy's just making some minor adjustments. And there! It's all set! Now we just turn it on and...
Is it broken?
Oh! I guess it would help if we plugged it in. There we go.
Look! The film is showing us exactly what we saw today. There's the men by the lake, and they're carrying the wooden boxes.
On the shores of Payette Lake are crates full of beavers, part of a shipment to be dropped in the primitive area by parachute from an airplane. A conservation officer runs suspension ropes through the Beaver Drop box. In preparing for the operation, beaver must be sorted for even size and weight, with one pair of beaver for each box. Ear tags are attached for future information.
And there's the beavers!
You know, I wonder if Geronimo liked his new home.
I hope so. After everything he went through, he deserved a quiet life in the meadow. But the good thing is, they don't parachute beavers anymore. These days, if they need to move smaller animals, they usually use a helicopter. You can land helicopters in remote areas, so there's no need for parachutes.
Well, that's good.
And they actually don't need to move beavers very often. People used to complain because the beavers created flooding. Well, they figured out how to stop that. Today, people can use a special pipe that keeps the water flowing so it doesn't flood anymore.
That's great news for beavers.
Yes, we've come a long way since 1948.
I'm glad they don't parachute beavers anymore, but you have to admit, it does make for a great story.
Welcome back. That sure was a great adventure. I don't know about you, but I'm gonna tell all my friends about this amazing story. That's all for now. But if you want to learn more, be sure to check out my favorite magazine for kids, Honest History. There's a ton of stuff to learn in each issue, and I love the fun activities and questions. Bye! This episode was narrated by Nikki and JoAnn Schinderle and written by Heidi Coburn. The production was read by Robot Pirate Media. To learn more about Honest History, visit us at honesthistory.co and follow for updates on social media.